Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today on a very late episode of Animal Crossing, mainly because I was just busy this evening, so, you know, I didn't really have enough time to record until just this moment. So things are going to be quiet, things are going to be low-key, things are going to be chill, because it's almost midnight. I've been doing a lot of, late-night recording recently. I say recently. It's not really been that recent. Like, the most recent time was when I was recording Amari, which I can't even remember what day I was recording Amari on. Like, I genuinely don't remember. It might have been a weekday. Maybe it was a weekend. I can't remember where I was recording at midnight because it was just so engrossing. But anyway, good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 11:29 p.m. on Thursday, February 16th, 2023. So yeah, what should I talk about today? You know what's interesting? Well, it's not that interesting, actually. I always leave these stories of, like, you know, it's interesting and then proceed to tell the most mundane story possible. But it's a thing I've noticed is that sometimes, you know, I'll be on my computer again, you know. I'm sure other people get this as well, hopefully, where it's just like, oh, Windows is just like, oh, you know, sign in with your account or whatever to sync up things. And I'm like, no thanks. I don't want to. I don't want to link my Hotmail account to this. I'm perfectly fine with my logging into Windows being completely separate from any of my associated, like, Hotmail accounts or anything like this, or Windows Live or whatever it's called. But I mean, that's an annoying thing, and there's always, like, I always click, like, oh, remind me again in, like, 3 days, and fully knowing that I'm never going to click on it again, because I am not bothered about something like that. Not bothered. But yeah, the other thing I was going to say was the fact that, like, Adobe Acrobat Reader just, like, keeps downloading itself as a shortcut onto my desktop, and I'm like, get out of here. I don't want you on my desktop. No offense, Adobe Acrobat Reader or whatever. Not that, like, I think you're, like, it's bad necessarily or anything like that. It's just more like, I don't really want you here. I don't want to play with you anymore. I kind of like use and, like, not use, but my desktop is perhaps remarkably clean. You if you saw it, you'd be like, wow, this is a surprisingly clean, like, desktop. Like, there's literally nothing on it. Or I shouldn't say literally, okay, it's not literally there's nothing on it. The only thing which is on my desktop at the moment is, like, the recycle bin shortcut. And you might be like, recycle bin shortcut? And yes, the recycle bin shortcut. And that's literally the only thing I allow onto my desktop for. I don't know, because not really much of a reason. I just like having a clean, empty desktop, to be perfectly honest. Like, you know, I've never been that person to have, like, a super cluttered desktop where it's like, oh, you can't really see what's going on. There's loads of things on the screen, you know. I'm never the person to just randomly, like, save a file to my desktop because I'm like, I don't know where to put this. Save it onto my desktop. I can promise you I am never that person. And you might be like, you know, everyone does that, which is fair enough. I'm fairly certain not most people, but a lot of people do that. I just don't. I don't really have much in the way of a justification. I just don't really like doing that, I suppose. It feels too cluttered to me. I like things being organised, unsurprisingly. So, you know, I always organise things into it's like specific folder that it should go into. And it's like, oh, you know, this, like, has a reasonable location for it to turn up in. If it doesn't, then, you know, I'll think of one, etc., etc., etc. But I certainly a lot of my friends or, you know, people I know are very, you know, very much like, I'll save it to my desktop or just something like that. And I'm like, it's not like I don't understand it, obviously, you know, it's quite easy to comprehend. It's probably one of the most easiest, like, places to access, you know exactly where it is. It's very directly visible, so you can remind yourself, I suppose, if you see it. But for me personally, I'm just like, it's not like I couldn't stand it. Like, obviously you can stand it. It's not like the worst thing in the world. It's not like, oh no, there's something on my desktop which I didn't want to be there, for travesty. No, it's more like, if there's something on my desktop, I'm just like, it's rather not. I'd rather have a clean desktop. I'd rather have an empty desktop, you know, empty mind. Well, maybe not empty mind, but clear desktop, a clear mind, and that sort of thing. So, you know, I always delete shortcuts and that sort of thing. You know, and anytime an app, like, install an app onto my computer, delete it immediately off my desktop. I'm like, I don't want this here. And that's, to be honest, it's a little bit therapeutic, I will personally say. You know, it's just like, oh, you know, it's nice being here, but it feels like I'm cleaning up, despite the fact I'm not actually cleaning anything up, of course. I'm just deleting a arbitrary shortcut off of my desktop in the first place, which, you know, it doesn't really amount to much, I would say, in the first place, but whatever. It's nice to very much feel like, I suppose, I'm cleaning up in a sense. And it, you know, I mean, that might not be true. Maybe there is another thing on my desktop which I'm not aware of. No, it looks like I'm still holding true to my word. There's nothing on it. I mean, my recycle bin is quite full. And look, there's like 5 Adobe Acrobat like shortcuts. Why does Adobe Acrobat keep installing itself as a shortcut onto my computer? I don't want you as a shortcut. You are a useful tool to an extent. I'm not going to pay for your full version to edit PDF files or anything like that, but still. Maybe I can Google it. Why Adobe Acrobat Reader shortcut keep appearing? I assume it's because it's updating or something with like Windows updates and things like that. And I'm just like, please, I don't want you here. No offense. Like, I've never been like, oh, I need to open Adobe Acrobat Reader. It's a great thing I have a shortcut on my desktop, because I'm going to be honest, I find using a desktop more inconvenient to access than... So I was just noticing on my Google Chrome I had like a little error about it. It was like the Camelizer needs to be updated. I need to approve new... I don't even know what this is. Historical pricing data. Sure, why not update? It's like, I find it more convenient, personally, to just like hit the Windows button and start typing for the application I need, or to click on it on my start menu. My start menu is actually quite convenient, or the taskbar, I suppose, if I need something at like a moment's reach. So I have things pinned to my taskbar which I need quickly. You know, if I can tell you what they are right now. You know, Windows Explorer, I need all the time. Firefox, need all the time. Discord, I need at a moment's notice. OBS, I need like... I use quite frequently. I use every day. Steam, I use reasonably frequently. To be honest, it doesn't necessarily need to be pinned to my desktop, because I can just open it through like with a little task tray or whatever. Clip Studio Paint, use that all the time. Need to open at a moment's notice. DaVinci Resolve, I don't actually use that all the time, I'm going to be honest, so it doesn't necessarily need to be here. It's perfectly fine on the start menu, so I don't know, it's just kind of here. Sublime Text, I don't actually use Sublime Text that much anymore, but basically back in the day I used to use it a lot when I did a lot more programming, I suppose, on the computer, so that's why that's there. And then MusicBee, which is just my music app. This MusicBee wouldn't have to be there if like Windows Live Group was like any good at all, I'm going to be honest. I don't know why I have the OBS. This is not the OBS, this is the Stream Deck shortcuts. I don't know why this is necessarily pinned to my... This should be pinned to my start menu. It should not be pinned to my taskbar. Unpinned from taskbar. Stream Deck, pin to start. You know, for things where I need somewhat frequently, but not all the time. Stream Deck, that's one of them. And probably Sublime Text can go here as well. Actually, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Unpin Stream Deck, Sublime Text on my taskbar. Unpin DaVinci Resolve. Keep things clean if I don't need it there. Probably I should pin MusicBee also to my start menu, because that's something I use quite a lot. And then I just got to sort of think about how am I going to sort out my start menu. Like, I can have YouTube related things by putting DaVinci Resolve and Stream Deck together. I don't know what else can go. Like, I have a Microsoft Suite folder. I have my art folder. I have my programming folder. I have my games folder. What kind of games? Very specifically, it's just for some of my gacha game stuff, because it's like a Tunnelbear VPN plus the launcher. DaVinci Resolve and Steam Deck. Ableton Live Suite. I have a MusicBee. There we go. We don't need all that on the start menu. Like, unsurprisingly, I like to keep things quite minimalist. Saying I got little random apps which I don't even know what is this. What is this? PC Health Check? I don't need this. Phone Link? What? Photos? Voice Recorder? I don't need all these things which Microsoft seem to install by default. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I've like never used them. Microsoft Teams? I don't necessarily need this on here. Malwarebytes? I guess that's okay. I don't really use Malwarebytes much anymore. Cortana? Definitely don't need Cortana. That was definitely the first things I disabled when I got got this new Windows version, I suppose. Because I don't like things like that, to be perfectly honest. I'm not going to say I never used it. I kind of used it more as like a niche, just sort of like a curiosity thing. When it first came out, things like Cortana, Amazon Echo, Alexa, OK Google, that sort of thing. I don't, it's not like I hate the concept of voice recording or anything like that, like, it's not because of the privacy issues, I suppose, which comes with it, because honestly it'd be kind of hypocritical for me to cite that as a problem I use it and then still continue to use their services through text. Like, it's still the same sort of like the same sort of data collection about me, I suppose, and I suppose a rare exception being that like it's not collecting my voice. But you know, with all these YouTube channels out here, not all these YouTube channels, all these YouTube videos I got myself recording, it's not really like a valid point anymore, I would say, or I should say it's a hypocritical point. I just find it more inconvenient for whatever reason to use like the voice commands, and that's like, I don't know. I guess it's I want to be in control of my own fate. So when it goes wrong, I'm just like, oh, that was my fault. No, it's not. Like, I don't want the computer to make a mistake of like misunderstanding what I'm saying, because there's nothing more frustrating. Well, it's not really that frustrating, I suppose. Now I think about it, you know, there's more frustrating things in life. But it's just a little bit annoying when I'd be like, okay, Google, search, I don't know, the capital of Lithuania or something. I mean, it doesn't understand what I said. It's like capitalize lithium, and I'm like, what? That's clearly not what I meant. Nowadays, I will say that the voice recognition is getting better and better. So maybe I'll have like a sort of 160, 180, I guess, on that issue in the first place. So I'm like, wow, okay, voice recognition is super useful. I also don't have like any of those. I don't know what they're called, but you know, the hubs, I suppose, like the Google Hub or the Alexa or Echo. I've never really had much of a desire to get one, I suppose, in the first place. You know, I understand people like to use it to play music. Perfectly fair. I don't like playing things out loud in speakers, and oftentimes when I listen to music, it's, you know, through headphones. You know, it's never very spontaneously, I suppose, like dancing around my room, sort of like playing music or something. I don't know. That's just not really the way I engage with music for whatever reason. Some people like to do it to set like audio reminders to myself, be like, oh, you know, set a timer for whatever any minutes. I will admit that's probably the closest I would have for a use case for it, because, you know, sometimes you're cooking or whatever and your hand's a bit dirty, you don't really want to like touch your phone screen or whatever, but it's not really that big a deal, I'm going to be honest. A lot of the time I sort of just like use my knuckle anyway, just so like I don't get my phone screen dirty or anything like that. What else do you use for like looking up facts or information? I'm going to be honest, I'm faster typing when it is that recognise my voice. That's probably not necessarily true anymore, I'm going to be perfectly honest, but it's at least it used to be true. Nowadays I don't think it's true anymore. I think voice recognition is significantly better, so much so that it's a lot faster at processing my voice. Siri, that was the one I was trying to think of, and I was like, I can't remember what the Apple one's called. I don't have any Apple products, so that makes it, you know, quite difficult for me to use Siri and Android in the first place, but still. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what else you use it for, to be perfectly honest. You know what, you can use it to, like, if you have, like, smart lights and that sort of things, right, you can sync them up and then you can control things. You can be like, hey, Alexa, turn down the lights or whatever. Hey, who turned out the lights? You remember that from Doctor Who? Which I guess is kind of useful. It's nice to have a voice activated, like, things you don't even need to really think about. Doing it, you know, it's very much something that you sort of see like in shows which are sort of like predicting the future, being like, oh, you know, you just go like, house, turn on lights, and the house goes, turning on lights, or like, or like living room lights turn on or something like that. I don't have any smart lights or anything like that. I don't particularly have a drive to get some. Like, one of my friends one of my friends does like that sort of technology. He likes this sort of thing. He can like control a load of random things from like his watch or like the Alexa, etc. And it is pretty cool actually when I see it. But it's the sort of thing where I'm like, it's not for me. You know, I'm not really that bothered by it. Which, if anything, maybe that just sort of means like I'm getting old, you know. I'm sort of like, oh, you young whippersnappers, you days and your smart light technologies. Except I don't really have an attitude to it. You know, I guess I'd be more like the grandma who'd be like, oh, you know, you youngsters, you can use that smart technology in your lights and that sort of thing. I'm going to stay with my manual like light switch, and they'll be like, grandma, that technology is so old now. No one uses light switches anymore, like things like that. You know, I can see myself being like that sort of grandma when I'm older, or now, I suppose, depending on how you sort of view that thing. I don't know how on earth we got into this conversation from empty desktop desktop shortcuts, I suppose. Basically, long and short is I don't really like having desktop shortcuts on my computer. Like, I used to have like desktop back before this computer. Actually, before that computer as well. I'm trying to think. I probably had very minimalist shortcuts as well on the computer before this, but I don't really remember. I genuinely can't even remember. Like, what did I even use as my desktop background? Maybe I didn't. But definitely of the two computers before this, I actually like filled up my desktop background with things. I don't know, it just like felt better. Like every time I got an application, I just added it as a shortcut, I suppose, as well. So every time I installed a Steam game, I like all my Steam games as like desktop shortcuts. But like I never use the desktop shortcuts. And most of the time, I kind of want to see my background anyway, you know? I think my background's like a nice piece of art. And I'm not just saying that because I drew it. Actually, I am just saying that because I drew it, but still, it's just nice, I suppose. And maybe I like to see that more often. It feels like uncluttered to a certain degree. Although I do have respect for people who make those like the shortcuts, like I suppose integrate with the background that you're working with. But you know, that seems like a lot of effort for something which is not much return for me personally, because I will never see it in the first place. I wonder when we're actually going to get a new recipe which we've not learnt before. It's been ages, I think, since the last time we got a recipe where it's like, whoa, don't know what that is. I think it must have been, well, like a non-Celeste recipe, I should say. I wonder if there's an easy way just to be like, yeah, what recipes am I missing? How many recipes are there in the game? Does it count for you if I open up videodiary recipes? Apparently we've got golden plate armor at some point as well. Starry garland. Yeah, so I don't know. There's mostly Celeste items I think we still need recipes for, but I don't know. Sorry, drinking some water. My throat is feeling a little bit itchy and scratchy show. But yeah, well, what else was I going to say about all of this? I don't really know what I was going to say about all of it. I don't think anything really comes to mind, to be honest. I just like having an empty desktop. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine. If you do, that's perfectly fine too. You know, everyone's got their own different ways of working. It's just me personally. I definitely can't stand having like adding things to desktop. Although I can't remember who it was. I can't remember if it was one of my friends, or if it was one of my friends. I mean, like which friend it was. But I felt that there was someone who kept saving things to their desktop. You know, fair enough. You know, lots of people do that. Save like random files that they need to their desktop. But eventually, you know, their desktop got so cluttered that what they did is just they took all the shortcuts and the files on their desktop, put it into a folder called desktop, and then just like started anew by saving things on the desktop again. And I was just like, that just seems insane. At that point, you might as well just like clean it up, I suppose, or delete it. But you know, they swear by the fact that the things on the desktop is stuff I really need, and you know, more power to you, I suppose. It's just, I guess I visually don't like that. It visually irks me in a way that human beings cannot comprehend, as obviously false. I think you could probably understand it. Like, I think if you're on either side of a coin, you can very easily understand the other side of a coin. Oh yeah, it's about a convenience factor. Oh yeah, it's fair to have things organised, I suppose, in that other way. It just kind of depends on your workflow, you know, the sort of things you like and what, well, you don't, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this episode off here, I think. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.